Greetings, good afternoon. How are you all doing? Great, thanks for having me. So like Sarah said, my name is Mike Lee. I'm a food product developer based in New York City, and one of the projects we founded about 4 years ago was a project called the Future Market. We are dedicated to exploring and envisioning what the future of food might look like. We do that in a number of ways, through the experiences like we have next door, and our concept products, which are really food's answer to what the auto industry does with concept cars. So how do you build a tangible thing that illustrates what the future of food could look like? Now, we've been at this for a few years now, and we've really tracked and followed a lot of the future of food trends that are kind of shaping the industry. And in the past few years, you may have noticed the future of food conversation has gotten a little slanted. It's slanted towards things that definitely will shape the future of food, but are decidedly very high tech. Indoor farming, lab-grown meat, plant-based proteins, autonomous delivery. And certainly all of these things have a really big impact on the future of food, but I think the shift we need to have in this conversation is to balance it off and say, as much as the future will be defined by some of these high-tech things, there's going to be things that are very low-tech and old school that will also shape it. Biodiversity is one of the biggest themes, and I think it's the future of food and the future of sustainability. And in the next few minutes, I want to present a case to you on why I think that is. But first, what is biodiversity? Well, the technical definition is the variety and variability of plants, animals, and organisms within an ecosystem. Sort of a sterile definition, but at the very end of the day, it just kind of means there's a whole variety of different diversity of different species, right? Biodiversity is not a conversation point that's really surfaced to the mainstream yet, but we think it really should. And in some ways it has, we just don't call it that. It's a theme that's within the larger theme of food sustainability. Sustainability is interesting because we're all talking about it, but it's really hard to kind of bring it down to an actionable, tangible thing. How many of you did something sustainable today for the food system? Yeah, what does that even mean, right? So it behooves us as an industry to try to take this huge, daunting, vague topic and break it down for our consumers who shop our aisles and buy our products to make it actionable and tangible. So we look at biodiversity, we start with a theme. Are we biodiverse as a food system today? Not really. 75% of our food comes from just 12 plants and 5 animals. That's on a global basis. This is a huge concentration of our food system to a relatively small amount of food sources. We only eat about 150 out of 30,000 edible plant species in the world. So we're highly, highly concentrated to just a small basket of goods when there's so much more variety and variability that we have. Breaking this down even further into a tangible example, you may have heard of the thing called the Irish potato famine. This was where so much of the potato crop in Ireland got hit by one disease, and because there was not any biodiversity or genetic diversity in that potato, about 1 million people went, starved and died because this whole crop got wiped out. The same thing is sort of happening today with the average banana. You may or may not know that the average banana that we all have is this banana called the Cavendish banana. It's about 50% of the supply worldwide of the bananas that we have. It's currently also under attack by a disease called Panama disease that's very similar to what's happening with the potato. So all of these things are kind of these big doomsday scenarios about what's happening in sustainability and biodiversity, but you might think, it's a little bit hard to build a campaign and have a conversation with a consumer about this kind of end-of-the-world conversation. The biggest question which I think we have to answer to scale this idea of the future of sustainability and the future of food is answering this question: what does sustainability taste like? Raise your hand if you've ever been to a meal and had an amazing meal, sat back afterwards and says, oh my gosh, that was so sustainable. That's a problem. Because if you look back at that stat, 75% of our food comes from 12 plants and 5 animal species. Not only is that not good for the ecosystem and the environment, you're literally leaving on the table a whole variety of interesting flavors, tastes, and food experiences. And that's what we're all here to do at the end of the day. So that's when I say you may not care about biodiversity and you may not be practicing biodiverse practices, But in essence, if you're a retailer and you're trying to look for the next big thing that's going to wow your customers, you kind of are. You're trying to diversify what your customers are interested in. And by doing that, you can kind of please them, please your bottom line, and kind of help save the planet. Biodiversity, I think, is the missing link for us to scale up this idea of sustainability because it actually links the two things of taste and sustainability. It's the thread between those two. Food is interesting because it's one of the largest, most complicated industries that we have. Yet the end product and the result ends in one of the most intimate experiences possible. It's this huge disparity between this huge system and something so small and so personal. Taste and sustainability. So even if you don't care one damn about the future of the planet or soil health or climate change, all which biodiverse food systems support, everyone, I think, cares about finding delicious, tasty food, right? The power of biodiversity is that it links together a very altruistic need, saving the planet, reducing climate change, soil health, with a very selfish need. I want tasty stuff. I think sometimes you can get to a certain point with an altruistic cause where you can get a lot of the early adopters, people that come to shows like this, people that go to sustainability conferences, they get it. That's not the audience we need to scale up this idea of sustainability. We need to get sort of the mainstream that doesn't think about this stuff, the mainstream that doesn't come to these conferences. And I think, for better or for worse, one of the best ways to scale an altruistic cause is to tie it to a selfish one. And again, I think that's why biodiversity is really the missing link between those two. Next slide. There we go. So who's talking about this, right? It's just starting, but this is not just something that we're screaming about into a corner, into a dark cave. People from General Mills, Starbucks, Sir Kensington's, Thrive Market, Back to the Roots, they're all starting to talk about it, and they're all trying to figure out how they can incorporate more biodiverse practices in the products that they create and the retail services that they provide. Our sister company, Food Tech Connect, has done an editorial series that's happening right now that interviewed 45 different executives, CEOs, farmers, scientists, researchers on what biodiversity means to them. So this is a conversation that has teeth that the industry is really looking at, and we want to make it so that you guys are ahead of the curve, so that when this kind of comes up as the next big theme, you're not caught flat-footed. So one of the things that we've done is we want to kind of arm you guys with information and actionable things you can actually do to get ahead of this conversation. As Sarah mentioned, right next door, we have a full exhibit called Biodiversity. It's all about the intersection of taste and sustainability. You can see things like, what would a more biodiverse shelf set look like? This gives you a vision of, okay, great, what do I do with my retail set? These are some concept products and ideas that you could use and incorporate to put on the shelf and support some of these things. Even more detailed than that, we have 24 different ingredients that all support biodiversity that are a springboard for both product ideas, sourcing ideas. These are all 24 opportunities for you guys to differentiate your assortment, wow your customer, and save the planet at the same time. It's a win-win-win, and we hope that this is a really good springboard for you to think about what the possibilities are of how you can innovate your way to a more sustainable food system. Even more tangible than that, we're showcasing 5 brands who are actually having real-life product you can taste right now that are all supporting sustainability. Believe in Bambara, the Jackfruit Company, Kaibe, Kuli Kuli, and Yoleli Fonio. These are all products that are new and exciting and nourishing, and we hope you'll kind of take a look at them, talk to them, and see how they might fit into your strategy as a retailer to kind of wow the future of food in your audiences. We're right next door, room 202 in the South Building. We've partnered with Seasoned Chips, and on top of the 5 startups that we have, there's 20 more that are kind of innovating the future of food, from everything from ag tech to the microbiome to food waste and everything more. So I hope you'll join us in the room, and when you join us, I want to challenge you. I want to present a challenge to you. We're all here to kind of look at what the next big thing's going to be. We're here to try to find the trends, and after this show, there will be many articles saying the top 10 trends from Fancy Food Show, right? We've all read these articles. I want to challenge you to think that as retailers and as producers in the food industry, you don't need to just follow the trends. I hope you'll have the courage and the audacity to say, we're in a position when we can create these trends as well, too. So I hope you'll come by. I hope you'll look at this idea of biodiversity, link taste and sustainability, and let's all build a food system that's better for people and planet. Thank you.